All right, so on the diagram below, what composition of transformations would map A, B, C, D onto A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime? All right, so this is a little tricky because if you look at this, B is here and it ends up here. All right, A is here and it ends up here. C is there and it ends up there. And D is there and it ends up there. So this thing is upside down. All right, is upside down. And it's also flipped left to right. So I'm going to have to be inventive here. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. And all of these, there's usually many ways you can do them. Some of them you have to be really crazy to come up with the system. But if I reflect this over the x-axis, which is what most people do when they start out. So if I reflect this over the x-axis, I'm going to zoom in and actually do that and see where this thing goes. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so to end up right there. All right, so I'm going to write this down. So I did a reflection over the x-axis. All right, and I ended up right there. And let's put my letters on here. That's B prime, that's A prime, that's D prime, and that's C prime. And what hopefully you're noticing is it's just going to slide down, is what most people say. So it's a translation down 2, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's going down 2. But the problem with that is that has taken this B and lined it up right there. And that is not where it's supposed to be. That B is actually supposed to be over here. All right, so how am I going to do that? All right, well, the best thing to do would be, if you zoom in again, if I was to reflect over this line now, this A point would go 1, 2, sorry, this B, it's going to be B. All right, this point right here is going to be there, and that's going to be B prime. Would go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and it would end up over here. And then this point over here would flip over there. So basically this thing would just flip around, all right, and the points would line up at that point. So if I'm going to do it like this, I need a third reflection. I need a reflection over the y-axis to make those points actually line up, okay? Now, that's not really the easiest way to do this. It's probably the easiest one to see. But what you can do with this is you can do a rotation of 180 degrees, and it doesn't matter what direction you go. And then you can go translation down 2. All right, and there's some other things that you can do to get an answer to this question, but those are the two most obvious ones. This one right here with the 1 I just wrote next to it is probably the one that most of you would come up with. I would expect that a lot of you would only have the first 2 and not the last one. And the issue with that is the points don't line up perfectly, and it means you're going to lose a little bit of credit. So be on the lookout for these. This is a very Regent style of question here, and we want to make sure that things work.